Hello, this is Lucy. Today at A&J we're going to be talking about standardised testing. If you're applying to university in America, you've probably heard of the various acronyms SAT, ACT, SAT2 or SAT subject tests, but you're perhaps not exactly sure what they are, and you're perhaps a little bit confused as to what's a good or what's a bad SAT or ACT score and what you're supposed to be doing to improve it. So this video is going to hopefully cover the basics of that. So firstly, if you're applying to university in America, almost every university will require you to send in some sort of standardised test results. And the two main tests are the SAT or the ACT. You only need to do one of these. Both are accepted by universities. There's no preference. Basically, they're very similar tests, but there are some key differences, and you should pick the one that suits you best. The ACT, for instance, has a science section, which the SAT doesn't, and the SAT is also known to have a slightly more complex English passage in comparison to the ACT. So the SAT is scored out of 1600, whereas the ACT is scored out of 36. That's the other main difference. Now, what a good SAT or ACT score is very relative. So it depends on what universities you're aiming for. You can generally find out online the averages of what successful applicants got. You can normally find out, say, the 25th, the 50th, 75th percentile of what sort of SAT, ACT score they got in order to gain a place. However, that's not the one thing they have to do. That kind of gets you over the first hurdle. If you're looking at the very top universities, however, you want to be getting very close to full marks and potentially full marks. For instance, Harvard, the SATs, the 75th percentile is 1600. So most people, like a very large proportion of people, were getting full marks out on the SAT. So it's tricky, but you'll have time and you'll be able to take multiple tests sometimes. But yeah, what a good score is and what a bad score is a relative term. It depends on what university you're thinking of applying to and what you're capable of, because everyone, of course, is different. The way to go about improving is practice. You'll generally need 6 months upwards of preparation for the SAT or the ACT. They're very standardised tests and they're very repetitive tests. Have some keys, and you can learn some key strategies to basically getting the best mark possible for you. But it takes time to learn these, and particularly for the English section, even if you're a native speaker and have a very high level of English, there are just some things about the grammar that you need really drilling into you to be able to get them correct every single time. Because again, the SAT is negatively marked, so you don't want to be losing marks. It's very helpful, if you can afford it, to get an SAT tutor or join an SAT or ACT prep class, because they'll have the knowledge of what strategies you need to develop to get the best marks possible. If that's not an option for you, there are lots of videos online, and in particular the Khan Academy has done some work with the College Board to help people improve on these tests. The other thing to think about is you can sit more than one, and most people do notice a jump in their score from the first test taking to the second test taking. And if it does happen that potentially in one test you got a much better mark on the evidence-based reading and writing part of the SAT, and in the other test you got a higher mark on the maths section, a lot of universities allow you to pick the two best parts of your school and add them together, which is known as super scoring, and that can give you a slightly higher mark on the SAT. And again, the ACT also has this. So just in summary, key tips. A good score is a very relative term. Have a look online about what sort of scores people were getting to be successful in gaining a place at these universities. If you have an admissions counsellor that's very well versed on the US college system, they also probably know this in and out. Secondly, practice is really important. It's not a test you can take unprepared, because there are some key strategies you need to learn to get the very best marks. It shouldn't be stuff that's more advanced than your current level of schoolwork, but the way you're being asked questions, particularly if you're in the UK or in another country, is very different to how you learn things and take tests regularly. So that's something you really need to teach yourself, or have someone else teach you. And then lastly, look into getting extra help. So there are loads of books available. You can get advice from the Khan Academy online. Look into getting a tutor or attending an SAT prep class. These are all things that will help you get the very best possible mark for you. I hope that's covered the basics, but if you do have any more questions, please comment below as normal. But that's it for now. Goodbye. Hope you enjoyed our videos. You can click here for more, and you can click right here to subscribe.